Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
The most important thing I feel about CAT is to remember that on the final day, it's only 10% about how well you can solve questions and 90% about how your mindset is, because you could be the best that is at verbal or quant, but if you lose your calm on the final day in a high pressure situation, then all your preparation is going to go for a toss. Hi, my name is Debansu. I scored a 9.4 CGPA in 10th, 76% in 12th, 77% in my graduation, which I did from IHM Mumbai in hotel management, and I will be joining the PGP program at IIM Kozhikode this year. I started my CAT preparation in March last year, and that gave me 9 months to prepare. Initially, I was spending around 4 to 5 hours a day, a little more on weekends, and later towards August that went up to 6 to 7 hours. But I firmly believe that there's no fixed number of hours that you should allocate to each subject, as some people may recommend. It really depends on the quality of effort that you put in, because something that takes me 3 to 4 hours to understand could take someone else even less. So just focus all your effort when you're preparing, and don't look at the number of hours that you're spending. When it came to my preparation, my weakest link was Quant, both because I last studied it in 12th, and even till then it was a complete mess. So for example, in my 12th boards I scored 44 on 100, and I'd always had this phobia of the subject. So when I started my preparation for Quant, I started it with a couple of channels on YouTube such as Rotha, and later on a month down the line I took the Quant preparation course from Takshila. This really helped me a lot because it helped clear up my concepts, something which I needed. And apart from this, I practiced a lot of questions from the Arun Sharma book. I mostly restricted myself to LOD 1 and 2, and because the level of difficulty 3 is considerably more difficult than what usually comes on CAT. In terms of additional resources, some great free ones that I would recommend are the Takshila Free Funda books, the 2IIM CAT Question Bank, and GMAT Club. When I started my preparation, I was sure that I wanted to prepare by myself, because I had gone for coaching in 11th and 12th, and even though that's a whole different ballgame, I didn't have a very good experience there, so I knew that if I prepared by myself, I could decide my own pace. What I felt was, from speaking to other people, that when you go to a coaching, they sort of decide the pace for you, which is based on all the students who are studying there, whereas if you study by yourself, you get to decide that, which helped me a lot. While preparing for Quant, I started off with arithmetic, and I would recommend that to anyone who's weak with maths. Because A, it's the easiest topic to start with, and also B, it's the biggest in terms of weightage on the actual exam. Start with arithmetic, then move on to algebra, which is slightly more difficult, and then on to geometry, which is considered the most difficult. And at the end, you can finish off the easier topics such as, smaller topics such as modern maths and number systems. Because arithmetic, algebra and geometry together form the largest chunk. So once you complete these, you're almost sorted for the exam. When it comes to DILR, I think this is the trickiest section for anyone, regardless of your background, because they can really give you questions from anywhere. There's no defined syllabus. And as we've seen over the last few years, this section has been getting progressively more difficult. Some of the key skills that I feel are necessary for the DILR section are, first, your calculation skills, second, your ability to discern what exactly it is the question wants, and third, your set selection skills. When it comes to calculation speed, this is a skill that will help you in both Quant and DILR, and one way I would recommend working on it is ditching the calculator. If you're someone like me with a weak background in maths, then you tend to reach for the calculator for every small calculation, but this is something you should stop doing altogether, whether it's in your day-to-day life or when you're practicing questions. Apart from this, you should also work on some things like the squares of numbers, cubes of numbers, and values of fractions. These will be invaluable in saving you those precious seconds when it comes to calculation. And speaking about set selection, a couple of factors that I would keep in mind were, first, how the information on the set was given. Was it given directly? Could I use it straight away for solving the questions? Or was it given in a jumbled manner where I had to process it before getting the information? And coupled with that were the questions on the set. So you have to see the questions that are given. Whether they're given directly, so if I solve the information of the set, can I answer all 4 questions at once? Or will each question require me to solve the information separately, which will take a lot more time? So Put these two factors together and then rate your sets. And when it comes to the DILR section, the biggest thing you need to do is keep an open mind. Everyone usually tends to have a favorite type of question that they're comfortable with. For example, for me, that was arrangements. And you tend to go to that question directly without assessing whether the other ones are easier. And remember, in the DILR section, your job is to find the easiest sets and not ones you're comfortable with. So find the easiest ones and then solve them rather than going for your comfort level. Mock tests form the bedrock of my preparation, as it is for any other aspirant. Firstly, because I did most of my verbal and DILR preparation through mocks. And secondly, because a big part of CAT is actually how you go about your test taking strategy, and this can be perfected only through mocks. How you select questions, which part of the section you attempt first, etc. When it comes to the number of mocks, I've seen people who attempt just 9-10 mocks and then do exceedingly well on CAT, whereas for some people it takes a lot more. So for example, for me, I did around 45 to 50 mocks almost. And this number is very subjective. There's no magical number that you can do and then get an excellent percentile on CAT. It all depends on how many mocks it takes for you to feel comfortable with the unpredictability of the format. The key point to remember is no matter how many mocks you give, you have to deeply analyze each of them, because you have to detect what mistakes you're making, is there a pattern in them, and how they can be fixed. Speaking about my mock percentiles, I think my lowest one was somewhere around 51 to 52 percentile, and the highest went up to somewhere around 96, and on average it hovered somewhere around 85 percentile. And it's very easy to feel demotivated when you see these scores, but the important thing to remind yourself is these percentiles are calculated against 10 to 15,000 of the most serious CAT aspirants, whereas on the final day it will be calculated against approximately 2 lakh people. So don't let these scores pull you down. Just remind yourself that it's a tool to improve on your CAT score, and you just need to focus on how you can use them to improve further on the future mocks, and don't let it pull you down. The most important thing I feel about CAT is to remember that on the final day, it's only 10% about how well you can solve questions and 90% about how your mindset is, because you could be the best there is at verbal or quant, but if you lose your calm on the final day in a high pressure situation, then all your preparation is going to go for a toss. So it's very important to also build your mindset, and this can't be done overnight. A couple of things that I did were but throughout the mock season, before every mock, I would prepare a mental roadmap of how I would go about if my weakest sections, which were Quant and DILR, came tough in this mock. And I would tell myself, how I would calm myself down, how I would select the questions when they were more difficult. And this really helped because, as I'm sure most people are aware, CAT 2020 was one of the most difficult papers in the last few years. So just throughout the exam, I kept telling myself, if this is difficult for me, it's difficult for everyone else. And that kept me going. So prepare your mind for the final day as well. 5 things I would want every CAT aspirant to know are: first, you should definitely have a broad outline of why you want to do an MBA, because no matter what time, which phase of your career you choose to do one, you should take some time out to think of what you want to achieve through it, because that will act as fuel to keep you going during the tough times. The second is that preparation is a tough journey, but it's not a 24/7 one. And with the raging pandemic, personal issues, professional problems, it's very easy to lose focus and give up, and a lot of people do that. So to prevent that from happening, you need to keep yourself motivated and take time out from time to time, speak to your friends, take a break, focus on your hobbies, things that give you joy outside of work. And something that really helped me at this phase was InsideIIM, both the YouTube channel as well as the blog. Especially because I was preparing by myself, it helped to see other people who had gone through the same grind and were now at my dream B schools. Next is that having study buddies can really turn this bumpy ride into a smooth one. I was very lucky to find 2 friends who were preparing for CAT at the same time, and they really kept me going and gave me that motivation on a day-to-day basis. Apart from this, if you're preparing by yourself, a study group can also help you with questions you get stuck on, or share new questions with you that could help you as well. The fourth would be to use the internet to the full advantage. We are very lucky to be at a time when we have the internet at our full disposal, and there are just so many resources available online, some that I've already mentioned. YouTube is also a great resource. There are so many channels available now, both in terms of motivation, also in terms of preparation. And I would say use these to the full advantage during your CAT prep. And last but most importantly, CAT is not the end of the road. There are so many other exams such as SNAP, ZAT, IIFT and NMAT. And because of how much luck is involved in CAT, it's very possible that for some or the other reason it doesn't go well. But that doesn't mean you should give up at that point. Focus all your energies on the upcoming B school exams, because they can, as much as CAT, give you a foot into the door of these premier B schools. One word of advice I would have for any non-engineer, or for that matter anyone who doesn't have that perfect background while going for CAT, is that don't waste your time rejecting yourself. So I'm sure it's very easy to keep questioning whether with this profile, say not so great ACADS or your non-engineer background, whether you'll be able to get into the top B schools. But one thing I can tell you is a good enough CAT score can compensate any of these. So of course, what is good is very subjective. But rather than focusing on what your past has been, you should focus on the future. And the only way to do that is prepare as hard as you can for CAT.